who doesn't have any punchlines. There's just an energy and an intensity to what he does. No name attached. No context given. And that's exactly the point. When someone in this industry wants to throw a shot without taking the blame for it, this is precisely how they do it. Praise one man for having energy and intensity, and by omission, tell the entire room exactly who they think is coasting on jokes instead. Then, seconds later, a second voice, clearly uncomfortable. The fact that he's asking me to, I don't want to have to just get one thing over and over again. Someone being pushed into repeating a bit they're visibly tired of. And immediately after that, the tell that ties it together. People are divided over who was more relatable. 3 separate voices, 3 separate moments, cut together in under 25 seconds. And every single one of them is circling the exact same unspoken question. Who actually deserves to be at the center of this franchise, and who's just along for the ride because the marketing works? Welcome back to Amelia Brown. Today we're not chasing rumors, we're listening closely to the words the people actually making Avengers Doomsday chose to use, in real interviews, and reading what those word choices are telling us. Every line in this video is real. What we're doing is asking the question nobody in these press junkets is allowed to ask directly. Who's really losing patience with who inside the making of Marvel's biggest movie ever?
Who doesn't have any punchlines. There's just an energy and an intensity to what he does. And then the fact that he's asking me to kind of...
I don't want to have to just get one thing over and over again. People are divided over who was more relatable. Yeah, I mean, there's a place for everything. Yeah. Doomsday is, a complete reinvention. It's another swing.
The fans are as much a part of this process as we are.
Break down that opening line piece by piece. Who doesn't have any punchlines? There's just an energy and an intensity to what he does. Read that twice. That's not describing a comedian. That's someone being praised specifically for the absence of jokes, for gravitas, for weight, for being taken seriously. Ask the obvious follow-up nobody in the room was willing to say out loud. If the compliment is built entirely around what this actor doesn't do, who exactly is the unnamed comparison? There's only one actor currently associated with this franchise whose entire public identity is built on punchlines, meta-humor, and constant jokes. The compliment isn't really about the person receiving it. It's a quiet, deliberate contrast, aimed at someone who isn't even in the room to defend himself. This is how Hollywood throws shade without ever having to own it. You don't criticize the person you have a problem with directly, you just praise the person standing next to them for everything the other guy supposedly isn't. Energy and intensity instead of jokes. Weight instead of gags. Said with a straight face in a press junket where nobody can call it what it actually is. And the timing matters. This isn't happening in a vacuum. Reportedly, the path to getting Ryan Reynolds onto the roster for this massive ensemble film was anything but smooth. Sources indicate his role will be strictly limited, with creative control kept under tight lock by directors and producers personally close to Robert Downey Jr., the man widely viewed as the true Marvel Jesus who started this entire multi-billion-dollar phenomenon. A compliment this specifically shaped, landing in the middle of that exact power struggle, isn't a coincidence of phrasing. It's a line delivered by someone who knows precisely what comparison the audience will draw the second they hear it.
Challenging those characters, figuring out new characters to intersect them with, and sort of see them in new lights and bring them to new challenges.
Characters that can bring that out of the audience tend to be our favorite characters.
Within our cinematic universe is incredibly exciting. It's been something that has been a long time coming.
Here's what makes that dig land even harder once you know the backstory. Reynolds didn't get invited onto Doomsday through the normal channels. Through a series of high-energy stunts at Comic-Con and D23, often featuring Hugh Jackman as his loyal sidekick, Reynolds essentially forced the studio's hand. It was a masterclass in aggressive marketing, but industry whispers suggest it left the actual creative leads, the Russo brothers, scrambling to accommodate a seat at the table nobody had officially offered him yet. Think about what that means for how everyone else on this production sees him walking in. He didn't earn his spot through the story. He manufactured public pressure until Marvel had no choice but to say yes. That's not the same thing as being wanted, and everyone in that room knows the difference, even if nobody's saying it directly. The fact that he's asking me to, I don't want to have to just get one thing over and over again. Don't rush past the discomfort in that line. This isn't someone excited about a creative challenge. This is someone describing being repeatedly asked to do the same thing, and visibly not wanting to keep doing it. In a franchise where Reynolds' current strategy is reportedly to weave Deadpool into as many upcoming projects as possible to keep the character central to the multiverse era, that complaint lands with real specificity. Picture what's actually happening behind that soundbite. An actor, pulled into yet another version of the same bit, being asked to deliver it one more time for one more promotional cycle, and for the first time, not bothering to hide how tired of it he already sounds. Consider how rare this actually is. Trained performers doing press for a 9-figure franchise film almost never let real fatigue slip through on camera. Every word in these junkets is usually rehearsed and smoothed over long before a microphone gets near them. For a moment of genuine reluctance to survive the edit means either nobody caught it in time, or somebody let it through on purpose, knowing exactly what story it would tell once it aired. Land on the third line. People are divided over who was more relatable. On the surface, harmless. Underneath, an admission that this franchise currently has two competing factions of fans, arguing over which version of Marvel deserves their loyalty. Studios don't let cast members openly acknowledge a divided fanbase unless the divide has already gotten too large to quietly manage. And notice the diplomatic hedge that follows almost instantly. There's a place for everything. That's the sound of someone smoothing over a fracture they just accidentally confirmed exists. That kind of instant correction isn't spontaneous. It's the reflex of someone media trained to catch themselves the moment they say something too honest. This tracks with everything simmering underneath the production. When Chris Hemsworth famously mocked the parody style of the franchise, he wasn't just venting, he was voicing a frustration reportedly shared by many of the original Avengers who watched the franchise shift from a serious comic book epic into something that felt like a continuous self-aware joke. That divide didn't start with this junket. It's been building for years and it just slipped out in real time. Circle back to the closing lines. Doomsday is a complete reinvention. It's another swing. You don't call something another swing unless the previous swings didn't land clean. That's not confident marketing language, that's a franchise admitting out loud without meaning to that it's still trying to figure out what it actually is. And immediately after, the fans are as much a part of this process as we are. On paper, inclusive messaging. In context, right after admitting this is yet another attempt to get it right, it reads closer to an apology, an acknowledgement that fans have been let down before and the team is trying to get ahead of that happening again. That tension is exactly what's fueling the tug-of-war Marvel is stuck in. They can't ignore the financial success of Deadpool and Wolverine, proof of a massive appetite for that racy meta brand of humor. But they also know they can't sustain a franchise solely on punchlines. If Doomsday turns into a sprawling mess of cameos that don't serve the plot, they risk losing the very foundation that let the MCU exist in the first place. Challenging those characters, figuring out new characters to intersect them with, and sort of see them in new lights and bring them to new challenges. Listen to how carefully vague that language is. Nobody names a single character. Nobody says who's staying central and who's being repositioned to make room for someone else. That's exactly how you talk publicly about shifting the balance of power in a massive ensemble cast without making headlines you can't walk back. New lights and new challenges are the exact phrases you reach for when you're quietly signaling that a character's role is changing, without confirming whether that change is an upgrade or a demotion. In a production already juggling RDJ's high-stakes return as Doom, Tom Holland's guarded Peter Parker arc, and Ryan Reynolds' meta-humor machine all fighting for space in the same film, a line this deliberately non-specific isn't filler. Compare that phrasing to how directors usually talk when genuinely excited about a new creative direction, specific, enthusiastic, full of concrete detail. This is the opposite. Carefully sanded down, generic enough to apply to almost anyone, precise enough to sound like it means something. That combination doesn't happen by accident in a room full of publicists prepping talking points before a junket. Here's why that vagueness matters so much for one specific actor. Reports suggest Doomsday will feature a deeply emotional connection between Peter Parker and Dr. Doom, the first time audiences see RDJ and Holland sharing the screen since Tony Stark's death in Endgame. For Holland, protecting the integrity of that relationship is reportedly non-negotiable. He's pushing back against any attempts to inject random fourth-wall-breaking Deadpool cameos that might undercut a moment fans have been waiting years to see. And unlike years ago, Holland isn't just a young actor happy to be on set anymore. Having built his own production power through his company, Billy 17, he's a producer, a business partner, and a guardian of the Spider-Man legacy now. If he feels the integrity of that story is being compromised by unnecessary crossovers, he has the actual leverage to walk away. That's not an actor complaining. That's a businessman drawing a line. And everyone making this film knows it. Bring it all back together. A cast member gets praised for having no punchlines, an unnamed contrast to the actor whose entire brand is built on them. Another sounds exhausted being asked to repeat himself. A third admits, almost by accident, that fans are already split into camps. Somewhere else, vague language about new lights quietly hints that somebody's role is shrinking to make room for someone else's. And underneath all of it sits a real financial tug-of-war. A forced entry through marketing stunts, and a franchise cornerstone in Tom Holland who now has the leverage to say no. So ask yourself the question this video keeps circling. When the people actually making Avengers Doomsday can't even talk about their own movie without this much careful, deliberate hedging, what does that tell you about how much tension is really sitting behind the scenes? Drop your read on it in the comments, like the video if you caught details you hadn't noticed before, and subscribe so you don't miss the next update as more of this leaks out.